All right, welcome back to the show. It's Christine Jewell, and as always, I'm super excited to have you guys here. Over the course of the next couple months, I'm going to be talking a lot about freedom. I'm going to be speaking a lot about freedom, fulfillment, and faith, specifically those things together as we're heading into 2024. I always love the changing of the seasons. I love the turning of the pages into a new chapter, a new book. For me, that new year, that fresh year is like a fresh start. Every season is like a fresh start. Every new year is like a new chapter, a new book. And years ago, I ditched the traditional ways of goal setting and planning and stuff that was just leaving me always just unfulfilled, feeling like I was in a rat race, like really just going through the motions, to be quite honest. And I noticed that I got really tired of just putting the same goals or the same things down year after year. And I want to say, like, everything began to shift in my life when I started looking at things completely differently, right? I started looking at creating a vision differently. I started looking at planning my life completely differently from a totally different perspective. I started adopting a completely different system. And today, my life is a reflection of a lot of those things. And I remember so many of the things that I wrote down as dreams for years have come full circle, are now very much part of my reality. And so I'm stretching again. And I'm inviting those of you that are ready to stretch, that are ready to raise your hand and say, I want to do things really different, radically different than most of the world, to join me in changing the way that you set yourself up in life, in business, in your marriage, right? So you can experience more freedom, more fulfillment through faith. And so I'm going to be speaking a lot about freedom, a lot about fulfillment, alignment, right? What does it really mean? And how do we do this through faith, deepening our faith, and what it really means to have a walk of faith. So stay tuned. This is going to be a huge piece of the conversation as we head into the new year. There's going to be a couple opportunities to join me for some live events, online live trainings and workshops that I definitely want to make sure that you guys get signed up for. And we're just going to lead you into the new year in a really powerful way. So, a couple announcements before I jump into today's conversation, which is about, we can recreate the past, right? We can rehash the past over and over again. We can really start embracing, creating, co-creating, building a new future. And I want to share like 3 mistakes that I see when people are really in this season, in this place of like wanting to set new goals, wanting things to look different, wanting to rebuild maybe a business, rebuild a marriage, wanting to shift, or pivot because of the way things are going in the world. We could feel this pull of what's next, but I want to talk about 3 mistakes that I see people making that are keeping them in the rat race, like just repeating the past. I want to give you, 4 things to think about when it comes to why we are rehashing the past versus creating a new future. Before I go into that, I want to let you know that December 13th, 2023, I am hosting an online event, a Visioneering workshop. And this is going to be a hands-on training and very active workshop for 4 hours. We are going to go through, and I'm going to walk you through this process that I walk my private clients through. We have a live event in Montana coming up that I'm taking my clients to, and we're going to be doing this work over a couple days in person. But this is an opportunity for you to start to really envision this next season of your life. And what does that get to look like? And how do you get to reclaim your time? What does it look like when you have the energy to show up? We're going to talk about putting things in the right order, because when things are not in the right order, there is no flow. Everything is difficult. It's hard. It takes way longer than it needs to. This is why I talk so much about alignment. And oftentimes we think we've got things in the right order, but everything is friction. There's friction everywhere, right? Everything is just so energy sucking. And so I'm a big believer that when we get things in the right order, I know that when we do, there's flow that opens up. Life force comes to us. Actually, we have the time, we have the energy, we have the ability to do things that we couldn't do before. It's almost like there's a supernatural support that kicks in, and flow is a lot more fun, right? Flow is a lot more fun. So getting things in order, we're going to be talking about, eliminating the things that take our energy away, what to focus on, how to structure your calendar, how to structure your time, and what are the key indicators of success as you go ahead. And they're not going to be the traditional ones that you've been putting down. We're not going to put all these like revenue goals and all this stuff down. That might be part of it, but it's not going to be the main focus. This is a holistic visioneering workshop to look at your whole life working together, right? So that you can experience more freedom, more fulfillment, more faith in your life, just really through faith. And so if this is speaking to you, you can join us December 13th. It is a paid workshop. It's $497 to join us. It's a 4-hour deep dive. I'm going to be hosting it. And for a limited time, for those of you who sign up live and show up, we are going to be actually giving you as a bonus the course that we are going to record. So you're going to have a self-paced course that you can actually have at your disposal, right? That you can go through with yourself, with your spouse, with team, with whoever, right? With your kids even. And you can use this as an ongoing tool for yourself. So the value of that alone is well over $1,000. The half day workshop is usually, I charge multiple thousands of dollars to do a half day event. So this is an awesome opportunity for you to get in. And before I hop, I want to say, if there's anyone else, if you are married, definitely get both of you in here. This is a priceless exercise that most couples will never do. They will never get together to really think about, where's God calling us now? What is the vision he has for us now? What do we really want to create in this coming year? What do we get to release and put down? How are we going to organize our time, our energy? Like most couples don't do that. It's such a end conversation that we only have when everything starts to burn down or something scary happens or someone's about to leave or somebody gets sick. But you can be preemptive. You can be intentional. You can start leading with this stuff. And this changes the game. So if you guys are married, you need to be in there. If you are just in this season where you're like, man, I want to do things differently. I want to walk with God. I want to really live out this next vision for my life. And I want to start to do goal setting, vision planning differently than I've been taught. Really want you to consider joining. So follow the link below. And I have one more announcement. Today's a lot of announcements. We are going to be shifting the structure of the show. So you're going to see in the coming weeks, I'm not sure if it's going to be in December, probably we're going to be renaming the podcast. It's still going to be the same amazing content, but we are rebranding the podcast. And I'm going to introduce more interview style shows. I'm going to still continue to do the solo cast because I love those moments of teaching that come through on my heart, those moments of inspiration. And I'm going to be adding in live Q&A calls. I'm so excited about this. So we're actually going to be doing a live call-in show. That is right. It's going to be pretty awesome. So about every third or fourth episode, it's going to be Q&A. You can submit your questions online. There's a link below where you can just click on that and submit your request to either be on the show or have your questions answered on the show. Step one is to go ahead and fill that out. One of our team members will reach out if it looks like a right fit, and we'll invite you to either be on the show or we can go ahead and answer that question for you. So be looking forward to those live Q&A episodes coming. We're going to definitely be dropping those as the new year rolls out. And I'm pretty excited about those because I love to be in there with you guys, like doing some live Q&A, live coaching. So if you have been wanting to experience some coaching, you've had some burning questions, or they're just something that you've been, you've been wrestling with, you can jump on and you can get live with me, live coaching. Or if you know somebody who has a burning question, right? I'm asking for a friend. You can do that as well. So you guys check out those two links below. All right, let's pivot. So today I want to talk about, so many of us want a new future. We're at this crossroads. We feel this tension between two worlds. What was working is no longer working. We know we have to do something different. We have a different vision for our life than the one we're currently living. A lot of the people that, I work with, that I talk to, you guys are still very much in the pressure cooker. You've got one foot in this grind system, and then you've got one foot in this other system. So you have these moments of reprieve. You have these moments of freedom where you're like, yes, this is going to be amazing, but you haven't fully gone all in and decided, effective immediately. Like my life gets to look different. I'm going to do it different. I'm going to fight different. I'm going to lead different. I'm going to love different. Like it is a full on switch. And again, things are gradual, right? We do this like 1% every day, but the decision is the powerful piece. So I want to start right there, that one of the big mistakes that I see people really stuck in, that is keeping them in this loop, is that this state of indecision. We say we want one thing, but we're still very much operating, thinking about, meditating on the old thing. It's indecision. We haven't fully gone all in and said, yes, this is what I want. This is what's happening. This is where God's calling me. Gets to be the new normal. And I'm not willing to go back to the old ways. There's such a level of conviction that happens when we get into that place of full on decision that's like unwavering. Decisive energy is potent energy. So I want to invite you guys that are, maybe feeling in this place of straddling two worlds, that where have you been wishy-washy in your decisions? Where are you not going all in? And again, it's not about going all in gung-ho, where you just have to like go like a bull in a china closet in this forward direction. I'm talking about all in your heart, right? All in your spirit, all in, that I'm going to give all of my heart to this. I'm going to give all of my thoughts. I'm going to redirect. I am all in for this decision. And I want to say this to you guys, you can be all in that this is how it gets to be and still give yourself grace in the process, right? You can still be patient in the process. God is a God of process. He's concerned about your character more than he's concerned about your results and your metrics. He's concerned about who you're becoming. So instead of praying for results all the time, pray for the character of someone who receives those results, who creates those results, who holds those results, who can multiply those results. We get stuck in this. Okay, I just went off on a little tangent, but that was a good one. That God is a God of process. He is more concerned with who we are becoming in the process, what is being cultivated in the soil of our hearts, of our minds, of our bodies, of the environment that we're creating. That's what he's watching for, right? And we've got to get that right before the results will fall in. Because if we establish ourselves, I don't know what verse it is, but there's a verse that says, if we establish ourselves, it will fall, right? It's like an empire that will fall, but it is the Lord that establishes our steps and establishes us and equips us. So as we move on and we're like, okay, I'm going to get established in this new way. I'm all in. I'm making the decision. I get to be patient in the process of refinement, the refinement of my character, right? It's like fire, it just kind of burns away all the old stuff, the old parts of our identity, the old belief systems, the old ways of doing things. They have to burn away so that the new can really be birthed. So there's a fire that we walk through after we come into decision. And I want to talk about that because that leads me into number 2, the second mistake that I see besides number 1, not getting into decision. And actually, I'm going to say 2 there, being impatient once we do make the decision, that we're just frenetic because it's not happening fast enough. So we revert back to what used to work, which gets us into more trouble and just repeats the cycle over again. So number 2, I'm just going to insert 1. Instead of 3, I'm going to go 5. The second thing there is impatience in the process. We get agitated, we get anxious, things aren't moving fast enough. And so we revert back to the old ways. We start getting afraid, right? And we just let that frenetic energy start taking over. Man, there's so many things that are coming up as I'm sharing this. So it's beautiful. Number 3, though, is avoiding. This is a big mistake that I see too, is the focus on avoiding pain, avoiding the past versus focusing on what we're consciously creating. What does this mean? So this is the idea of like, if you walk into a kitchen, right? Or you're on a diet, somebody does a diet, they go on a diet. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop eating junk food. I'm going to stop eating carbs, right? Like those are the big ones. And all you are telling yourself is do not drink. I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking. I'm not eating carbs. Do not eat the cookie. Do not eat the cookie. When you tell yourself over and over again what you're trying to avoid, guess what you want more of, consciously or unconsciously? Guess what you start fixating on? You want the cookie, right? You're fixating because all you're doing is focusing on what you can't have. What's the no, right? Where you're not going. I use the analogy, my husband and I were driving the other day, and we had just finished our men's retreat, which I talked about in the last episodes, and I saw these lines on the road, and I chuckled and I looked at him. I said, "Have you ever been riding a bike and you're like, don't look at the lines, don't go over the lines because maybe there's wet paint on the lines, and it's like, don't go over the line, don't go to the line, don't hit the wet paint, and it's like, shoo, every time, right? You like hit the line, you slide." Or you're mountain biking and it's like, don't hit the log, don't hit the log, right? Don't fall over the log. You remember the last time you fell or you tripped or whatever this is. I have a lot of athletic moments, right? Skiing moment, running moments where it's like, don't twist your ankle over a root. And it's like, boom, right away. We call this the jellyfish moment. Ladies in my group, we were on the women's retreat last year, and one of the ladies was paddleboarding in the back, and she was like, "I'm always that person that gets stung by a jellyfish every time I go in the ocean." And I was way out in the front, and I may have shared this story on the podcast. I apologize if I have, but for those of you that are new, you've not heard this. But so we're paddling out, and I know you're listening to this right now, but and she said, "I'm always that person that gets stung by a jellyfish." Well, guess what happened? Within minutes of that, she got stung by a jellyfish. We dropped into the water. We were all swimming. I think there was maybe like 10 of us or something around 10. And out of everyone, she is the one that gets stung by the jellyfish. This is how we're created. What we focus on, what we speak out loud, we manifest. It comes into existence. And so one of the things I really see is that there is this focus, this incessant focus on avoiding something, avoiding the pain, avoiding that mess up again, avoiding screwing up another relationship, avoiding hiring, another bad employee, avoiding the next fight. And so we're so focused on that we just recreate it again. I want you to really start to focus on what are you creating. This is why in my coaching calls, almost always I ask people, well, what do you want? What does that look like? And they'll automatically tell me what it doesn't look like. And I have to keep redirecting. That's why coaching is so powerful, because you don't even realize when you're telling yourself what you want or what's next or what does this look like, often you're so focused on what it's not. And that can be helpful in the beginning to start to move you away from it, but you never really clearly articulate what you're moving towards. And so your focus is on going backwards. And so I want you guys to pay attention to this, even in your language, right? Because here are some things that I see, and I want you to pay attention. Like, what percentage of your thoughts, think about your thoughts, what percentage of your thinking time is focused on what you're trying to avoid versus what you're trying to create, what you're committed to building? Right? Are you to celebrating the 1% progress that we've made towards that thing versus the 1% that we made back towards the old way? What percentage of your emotions, your feelings, as you're feeling your feelings through the day, those of you that are feeling your feelings, congratulations. There's a lot of us that are really numbed out because we're so stressed out and burnt out that we are just like not feeling it. Everything's been so suppressed. But I want to really check in with you. What has your familiar emotional home been over the last 30 days, 90 days, like the last year? If you were to look back and do some reflection, which we will be doing in our Visioneering session. So make sure that you click on the link and join us, sign up for that. As you look back, what was the emotional home over the last year? Because what percentage of your emotions have been fixated on, right, related to what you don't want, or the past, what you don't like about the business that you want to sell, what the home life that you want to get rid of or change, versus tapping into the emotions of what you've already been called to create. What does it look like on the other side? What does it feel like on the other side of this thing? Because everything we're doing it, we're creating it, we're building it because we want to experience something. Maybe you want to experience more connection. Maybe you want to experience more freedom. Maybe you want to experience more fulfillment, more joy, more lightness, just physical lightness, right? Like, I don't want to feel so heavy. I want to feel lighter. Maybe you just want to feel more oxygen, room to breathe more. Again, that's freedom, I guess, or clarity. But we can tap into these emotions right now, today. Yet so many of us spend an enormous amount of bandwidth entertaining and staying in this pool of emotions that are very heavy, that keep us reliving. They're like the thoughts feed the emotions feed the thoughts, and we're just in this cycle and this looping in the past. We've got to break free from that. So we talked about thoughts. What percentage of emotions? What percentage of your words? If you think about your words that you speak, that come out of your mouth. Again, when I'm coaching groups, when I'm doing workshops, and this is why I'm really plugging this visioneering session, because we're actually going to workshop this out. We're going to break it down so you become very conscious and aware of the thoughts, aka the belief systems, the emotions, the words that are coming out of your mouth. Are they words that bring life? Are they words that create the new? Or are they words that repeat the old? We are so unconscious of what comes out of our mouth, but word, like the tongue, creates life or death. The power of the word can bring life or death, blessings or curses. Every single time that you open your mouth, you are affirming, you are confirming, you are creating agreements with something. So this is a training that we get to really fall into, is, can I slow down enough to pay attention, to hear what I'm speaking, to speak with intention, that which I want to create? So when you're thinking about, am I avoiding pain or am I consciously creating? Again, what percentage of the words that you speak are in alignment, are in integrity, are moving in the direction supporting what you're here to build right now? This can be in conversations. It can be with potential clients, with potential prospects, with your husband, your wife, in your marriage, with your family around the dinner table. Like, you're talking all the time. And lastly, as you're thinking about your thoughts, your words, your emotions, obviously your actions, right? What percentage of your actions, if I was to follow you around for 24 hours, and I just had a little journal and I was like, just writing down what she says. I'm just going to watch what he does. Oh, he just avoided that phone call. Or, oh, he just avoided that conversation again, right? He hid from that thing. There's a lot of hiding. There's a lot of pretending. There's a lot of avoidance. There's a lot of lashing out, reacting. There's a lot of, right? Pay attention to our actions. Are we making decisions and initiating action from a place of reacting to the old? Or are we creating, acting out, moving from a place of creating the new? I can receive a piece of information, and how I respond, the action I take, will either repeat the past or create the new. Every single response to every email, to every text, to every phone call, to every look I get from my partner, or thing that the kids did or didn't do, or every employee problem, or anything, financial decision I need to make, every action moves you in a direction. So I want to ask you guys, as we start, tuning in here, are you in alignment? Are you moving in the direction you want to go with your thoughts, your emotions, your words, your actions? Or if I was to follow you around, are most of your actions, words, emotions, and thoughts unconsciously recreating, rehashing, repeating the past? So that's the third thing. And I broke that down a lot because I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see with a lot of the people that I see inside of my containers, is like, I'm still a little bit in indecision. There's some wishy-washiness. We've got to clean that up. We've got to get you into full decision. We've got to cultivate the art of patience, of grace in the process. We get to really make sure that we're focused on the character and the process instead of this incessant need for the results right now, right? That's a pattern we get to break. We get to look at, are we creating the new, or are we still avoiding pain? The last two things I want to touch on are mistakes that I see, is this chasing an idea of what we think we want, which is not actually what we desire at all. An example of this would be continuing to focus on growing your business and growing your business bigger and bigger, opening multiple locations, building greater teams, like making things more complicated and more complex, when really what you crave is simplicity. Maybe you don't even want that right now, right? Maybe you really secretly want something completely different, but you've been so programmed and conditioned to grow, get, keep moving. Maybe what you really desire and long for is rest, a season of rest, a season of stabilization. Maybe you do desire growth, right? But it's really to check in. Is this really at the core of your being what you are feeling called to do, moved to do, inspired to do, compelled to do? Or is this sense of urgency, self created, self induced pressure around something that's like, I don't even know why I'm doing that? At the end of the day, I don't really know why I wanted this, because you might get it and you still, like, you feel heavier than you did before. You feel less satisfied. So I really want to challenge people to check in on this. And the last mistake I see when people, sorry, I'm going to pause. I want to go back to that, because we're talking about when we are here to go, what's next in this season of my life, and we are frustrated that we're stuck in this middle place. These are things I really want you to consider. And this is often what I see as causes, of why people are here, and that we want to start to unpack these things. People don't think about this. We don't stop to go, wait a second, is this even the thing that I really desire, right? Do I even want that business model? Do I even want this relationship? Like, is this even the person I want to be married to? Like, is this, or am I just here because I don't want to be lonely, avoiding the past, right? The last thing I want to say here that I see as a mistake that a lot of people are doing, or the pattern that they fall into, and this is also a huge piece of the work that we do, is that they're still operating on an inverted system of how to get there. So you hear me say this often: the way we got here is not what's going to get us there, right? What got us here is not what's going to get us there. Especially if you are a kingdom-minded entrepreneur and you say, I really want to do life from a place of faith, where there is fulfillment, full alignment to my heart, to God's will, to the vision of my life, and there's freedom. And when I say freedom, I'm going to do a whole episode on that, but we're talking about like freedom of mind, freedom, in your heart. You are unshackled. You're no longer in bondage, So we say we want that, and yet we're still adopting all the world system's ways of doing things, right? So when you look at the world system of running a business, of growing a business, like fixating and focusing on money as the source of everything, a lot of these world systems, they're inverted from God's system, right? They're inverted from the way that really is life-giving, the way of freedom, true freedom in your soul, true alignment. So here we are, we're trying to build our business. We're trying to fix our marriage or get a great marriage, or we're trying to move into a new vision or whatever it is, right? And we're doing it in a way that is totally working against the vision. It doesn't support that vision. It is going to continue to require your life force all the time, all of your energy, all of your time. And you're going to be in this place of scarcity. You're going to keep operating from this place of lack, where it's going to cost you so much more. And it's not sustainable. The world's way is not sustainable. So I'm really passionate about really leaning into what is the kingdom way for us to build a thriving business while also having a great marriage. What is the kingdom way, God's way? The which I believe there's still effort, there's hard work, but it's not this constant heaviness and weight that so many of us are carrying. I know that I know, because I'm a living testament to this, that when we get things in the right order, the right things start to fall into play. And a lot of the work is actually very life-giving. It's effortless in many ways. The marriage, Mark and I joke, but we always say it's one of the easiest things that we do. It still requires a lot of intention. It requires a lot of presence. It requires us being very aware, right? And doing our inner work. But the relationship itself is not an energy sucker in any way. It's the life-giving. It's like a tree of life, it's just another place that we get fed, that we get multiplied. Imagine if you could really begin to experience life more in this way, where the work energizes you, where your marriage energizes you, where actually going and working out, doing things for your body energizes you. You're not just slugging it through the gym, destroying your body, feeling exhausted and lugging yourself to the office and then like trying to get by in the relationship and trying to get the kids to want to do stuff with you. Like it doesn't need to be so much suffering and pressure and all this stuff. So again, when there is no flow, where there is no life, where there's no multiplication, I have to ask, like there's an inverted system. There's a backwards inside out system that is not sustainable. So I wanted to share those 5 things with you today. We talked about 5 big mistakes that I see. And these are 5 key areas that I love to dive in and unpack with my clients. I want to hear from you guys, like what's resonating with you. You know, is one of these things really speaking out to you? I have a couple asks. Like number 1 is that you just, connect with us, right? If you're not already on the email list, like connect with me. Let me know what you're enjoying, what's really sticking out from these episodes. Share them with a friend. There's lots of ways for us to get connected by checking the links below. And again, I want to finish by saying that if you are someone that has been either, in my world or consuming a lot of this content, but you haven't really been locking these pieces into place, it's great to hear this stuff. It's great to read books. It's great to listen to podcasts. It's great to do this, but you need to get in a container where you're actually like executing on these things, where you're actually taking action, you're workshopping it, you're getting feedback, you're going side by side with other people that are also doing the work, not just talking about it, but really like doing the work. And that's when you start to get momentum, because a lot of us are, and I used to do this for so many years, is that I would receive something and then I would go and try to implement on my own. And I just felt like alone on an island and everybody else didn't get what I was doing. I was like the black sheep, the foreigner, and it really changed for me. And I started early on getting mentorship and masterminds and people around me, just community. And that is really the game changer, because you realize you're not alone. You realize you are supported. There are other people on a similar journey, and you actually get the time, to just work this stuff out. So I hope to see you guys in this upcoming workshop, December 13th. If you are not able to join that one, there'll be a course version of this coming out, I'm sure, but let's get connected. And I want to thank you all for being here. We are created for life. You are created for love. You are not created to be enslaved, stressed out, burnt out. And there is so much more waiting for you when you come into full decision and you start saying, yes, I get to live a life of freedom. I am not a slave. I get to live a life of fulfillment. I do not need to work my days to feel depleted all the time. And I get to lead from faith. Faith is moving in the things you cannot see, right? Faith is moving into the place of the unknown. It requires trust, it requires surrender, and it requires that we grow into intimacy with God, deepen our faith in the spiritual. That's what it means. So if this is it and you are here for it, then let's get connected. I want to see you guys inside of one of these workshops or containers. Until next time, here's to loving fiercely, leading courageously. We will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.